Picture a bustling Los Angeles diner at twilight, the neon glow of Mel's diner casting flickering shadows on a warm September evening. A little girl's voice trembles through the chatter, barely audible yet piercing, as she whispers, "Please, sir, I'm just hungry," her small frame clad in a tattered dress, her tangled black hair falling over tear-streaked cheeks. She's being dragged toward the door by a harsh hand, her frail body nearly lost in the crowd of indifferent diners. Then, a sleek silver Mercedes purrs to a stop outside, and a millionaire steps out, his tailored suit catching the streetlight's gleam. His piercing gaze locks onto the girl, her desperate plea cutting through the evening's chaos. He stops dead in his tracks, his voice sharp yet steady, saying words that silence the bustling diner. What could drive a child to beg for scraps in a place of plenty? Why would a wealthy stranger, known for his steely resolve, pause his world for a girl he's never met? This is a story of hunger, compassion, and a moment that rewrites lives. You're about to dive into a tale so raw, so emotional, it'll grip your soul and leave you breathless. Join us for the unforgettable journey of Lily, Edward Grayson, and a single act of courage that defies all odds. Hit play and let's unravel a story that'll tug at your heartstrings and warm your heart. Hey, everyone! Welcome back to the channel, where we unearth stories that hit you deep in the soul, spark hope, and celebrate the incredible power of human kindness. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and join our vibrant community of story lovers. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. Today, we're diving into a tale that feels like it's ripped from a Hollywood blockbuster, but it's real, raw, and profoundly moving. It's about Lily, a 6-year-old girl facing a world of hunger, rejection, and quiet resilience. Edward Grayson, a millionaire whose polished exterior hides a heart guarded by years of solitude and a single moment that turned their lives upside down. This isn't just about wealth or hardship. It's about compassion, redemption, and the courage to rewrite a broken story in an instant. Let's meet Edward Grayson. At 55, he's a real estate magnate in Los Angeles, a titan whose name is synonymous with luxury, power, and unyielding ambition. Worth over $250 million, Edward lives in a Beverly Hills mansion that's a masterpiece of opulence. Picture sprawling manicured lawns dotted with rare palms, a rooftop infinity pool shimmering under the California sun, a private art collection featuring Monets and Basquiat's that rivals a museum, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the city's glittering skyline. His life is a showcase of success, tailored suits flown in from Milan, exclusive charity galas where he rubs shoulders with Hollywood elite, and a reputation for being shrewd, untouchable, and cold as marble. But behind the polished facade, Edward is a solitary figure. Widowed 7 years ago after losing his wife, Claire, to a sudden illness, he has no children and has buried himself in his empire, Grayson Properties, building walls around his heart to keep pain and connection at bay. His staff, drivers, chefs, housekeepers, personal assistants, manage his world like a finely tuned orchestra, but he barely acknowledges them, their names and faces fading into the blur of his high-stakes deals and million-dollar negotiations. Now, let's meet Lily. She's a 6-year-old with tangled black hair that falls in messy waves, big brown eyes that hold a quiet resilience despite the pain they've seen, and a rare smile that masks a world of struggle. Lily lives with her aunt, Carla, in a rundown apartment in South Los Angeles, a neighborhood where hope is a scarce commodity. The apartment is a cramped one-bedroom, its walls cracked and stained, its heater sputtering, its windows rattling in the night breeze. Carla, Lily's guardian since her parents died in a tragic car accident when she was 3, is a struggling waitress who works erratic hours at Mel's Diner, a bustling spot known for its retro vibe and famous burgers. Lily's world is one of uncertainty, her days spent dodging danger in a neighborhood plagued by gangs on street corners, sirens wailing at night, and the constant threat of trouble. Her nights are often spent hungry, her small hands clutching a worn stuffed rabbit named Floppy, a gift from her late mother, her only companion in a life that feels too harsh for her young heart. Carla's job at Mel's diner, where Edward occasionally dines during late-night meetings, barely covers rent, leaving little for food, clothes, or anything beyond survival. Lily sometimes tags along when Carla works, sitting quietly in a corner booth with a coloring book filled with bunny sketches or a broken toy she's too attached to discard. Her small frame, draped in a faded dress that's too small, goes unnoticed by the bustling customers who fill the diner's red vinyl seats, their laughter and chatter drowning out her silent presence. Edward, who visits Mel's for its classic cheeseburgers and quick service, has never seen Lily, never noticed the little girl tucked away in the corner. To him, Carla is just another server, a face he barely registers as she refills his coffee, her name tag a detail lost in the churn of his empire's demands. But Lily isn't invisible to everyone. Maria, a cook at Mel's, notices her. A warm woman in her 40s with a kind smile, Maria sees how Lily is too quiet for a 6-year-old, how her clothes hang loosely on her thin frame, how her brown eyes light up when Maria sneaks her a plate of fries or a leftover slice of pie. Maria senses something's deeply wrong: Lily's hunger, her wariness, the way she clings to Floppy like a lifeline, but she doesn't know the full story. She's tried asking Carla gentle questions about Lily's home life, but Carla's stress makes her defensive. Her response is sharp: "We're fine, just managing." Maria hesitates to push further, afraid of making things worse, but she keeps a close eye, slipping Lily snacks and watching for any chance to help. Edward, consumed by his real estate empire, is oblivious to Lily's existence, let alone the struggles that define her young life. That is, until one fateful evening, a moment that will shatter his carefully constructed world and force him to confront a reality he never imagined. Let's dive into the problem that set the stage for this life-altering encounter. Lily's life was a daily struggle against a world far too big for her small frame. At 6, she should have been playing with dolls, giggling at cartoons, or dreaming of magical adventures with Floppy, her stuffed rabbit. Instead, she was surviving, navigating a life where hunger, fear, and rejection were constant companions. Carla, her aunt, was a well-meaning but overwhelmed woman, stretched thin by her job as a waitress at Mel's diner and the unexpected responsibility of raising a child she hadn't planned for. Their apartment, a cramped one-bedroom in South Los Angeles, was a place of cracked walls, flickering fluorescent lights, and unpaid bills piling up like a gathering storm. The neighborhood was unforgiving. Gangs lingered on street corners, their voices sharp with menace. Sirens wailed through the night, and the air carried the weight of danger. Lily learned to stay quiet, to blend into the shadows, to avoid trouble in a place where trouble seemed to find everyone. Hunger was a relentless ache, her meals often just scraps from Mel's, half a sandwich, a handful of fries, or whatever Maria, the cook, could slip her when Carla wasn't looking. Carla's erratic shifts at Mel's, which could stretch from early morning to past midnight, meant Lily often tagged along, sitting in a corner booth with Floppy, coloring on napkins with broken crayons or reading a tattered library book about bunnies hopping through magical gardens. The diner's retro vibe, red vinyl seats, neon signs, the clatter of plates, was a stark contrast to their crumbling apartment, but even there, Lily carried the weight of her struggles. Maria took a special interest, noticing Lily's thin frame, her faded dress that was too small, the way she'd flinch when Carla's voice grew sharp or a customer's shout echoed through the diner. Maria suspected neglect: Lily's hunger, her wariness, the faint shadows under her eyes, but she lacked proof. Carla's stress was mounting, her patience fraying under the pressure of low wages, long hours, and the constant fear of losing their apartment. Lily was paying the price: skipped meals, nights spent alone in the booth or at home, and a growing sense that she was unwanted, a burden to the only family she had left. Edward, meanwhile, lived in a different universe. His Beverly Hills mansion was a fortress of solitude, its sleek design a testament to his wealth, but not his warmth. He was a man of routine, his life a carefully choreographed dance of boardroom battles, real estate deals, and high-stakes negotiations. The loss of his wife, Claire, 7 years ago to a sudden illness had left him guarded, his heart sealed behind the walls of his empire. Grayson Properties was his legacy, a real estate giant that shaped Los Angeles' skyline with towering condos and luxury developments. His staff, dozens of employees across his properties and offices, were invisible to him, their personal lives irrelevant. When his assistant mentioned staffing issues at properties near Mel's Diner, overworked employees, complaints about delays, Edward was dismissive, his response curt, "Handle it." His mind was on a $150 million development deal in downtown LA, not a struggling waitress or the child who tagged along. Lily's existence, Carla's struggles, none of it registered in his world of wealth and power. But Lily's situation was growing dire. Carla's exhaustion led to mistakes at work, dropped trays, mixed up orders, putting her job at risk. Her frustration spilled over onto Lily, who faced harsher treatment, skipped meals, sharp words, and moments of being left alone for hours. One evening, after a heated fight with her boss over a scheduling mix-up, Carla's patience snapped. Lily, hungry and desperate, had quietly asked a customer for a bite of their food, her small voice trembling. "Please, sir, I'm just hungry." Carla, embarrassed and overwhelmed, dragged Lily toward the diner's door, accusing her of causing trouble. Lily's plea echoed through the diner, her small body trembling as she was pulled into the warm Los Angeles evening. Edward, dining at Mel's that night after a late meeting, was finishing his burger when he heard Lily's voice, "Please, sir, I'm just hungry," and froze, his fork pausing midair. He stood, followed them outside, and called out, "Wait, what's going on here?" His voice was sharp, a mix of instinct and concern, but his heart raced at the sight of Lily, trembling and hungry, her brown eyes wide with fear. Edward didn't know Lily, didn't know her story, but her desperate plea hit him like a thunderbolt, stirring a compassion he hadn't felt in years. Who was this girl, and why was she so hungry she had to beg? Maria, working in the kitchen, saw the scene unfold and rushed out, explaining what she knew about Carla's struggles and Lily's neglect. Edward's heart clenched. He couldn't walk away from this child. Let's go back to understand how this moment unfolded and what Edward did next to change everything. To grasp the full weight of that moment outside Mel's Diner, we need to rewind to Lily's life before that warm September evening. She was born to loving parents, Sarah and David, who filled their small Los Angeles apartment with warmth and laughter. Sarah was a schoolteacher, David a mechanic, and their home was a haven of love until a tragic car accident claimed their lives when Lily was 3. Carla, Sarah's older sister, took Lily in out of duty, a single woman with no children and no experience raising one. The responsibility weighed heavily, and Carla, a waitress at Mel's Diner, worked grueling hours to keep them afloat. Their apartment in South Los Angeles was a cramped one-bedroom, its walls cracked and stained, its heater unreliable, its windows rattling in the night breeze. Lily grew up with Floppy, her stuffed rabbit, a gift from her mother, her only constant companion through nights of hunger, fear, and loneliness. Lily was a quiet child, her big brown eyes bright with a curiosity that life hadn't yet crushed. She loved books, tattered ones from the library about bunnies hopping through magical gardens where kindness and plenty reigned. She'd draw on napkins or scrap paper, sketching Floppy as a brave adventurer in a world free of hunger, her small hands moving carefully with broken crayons. But in reality, hunger was ever present. Carla's low wages meant meals were scarce, a slice of stale bread, a can of beans, or, on rare days, a few fries from Mel's. Lily learned to ignore the ache in her stomach, to stay small in a neighborhood where danger lurked, gangs on corners, sirens piercing the night, the constant threat of trouble. She'd learned to avoid attention, to blend into the shadows to stay safe. When Carla worked late shifts at Mel's, Lily tagged along, sitting in a corner booth with Floppy, coloring jungle scenes or reading her library books to escape her fears. The diner, with its red vinyl seats, neon signs, and the clatter of plates, was a world apart from their crumbling apartment, but even there, Lily carried her struggles. Maria, the cook, became her quiet ally. A warm woman in her 40s, Maria noticed Lily's thin frame, her faded dress that was too small, the way her eyes lit up at a plate of fries or a kind word. She'd tell Lily stories about bunnies ruling magical forests, hoping to coax a smile, but she saw the signs of neglect: Lily's hunger, her wariness, the faint shadows under her eyes. Maria had tried talking to Carla, gently asking about Lily's home life, but Carla, stressed and defensive, snapped, "We're managing," her voice sharp with exhaustion. Maria didn't push, afraid of making things worse, but she kept a close eye, slipping Lily snacks, a slice of pie, a handful of fries, and watching for any chance to help. Edward, meanwhile, was a man of precision, his life a carefully curated empire. The loss of his wife, Claire, 7 years ago had left him wary of connection, his heart sealed behind the walls of his ambition. Grayson Properties was his life's work, a real estate giant that defined Los Angeles with its luxury condos and commercial towers. His Beverly Hills mansion was a showcase of wealth: manicured lawns, a rooftop infinity pool, a private art collection, and a terrace with views of the city's skyline. But it was a lonely place, filled with the hum of staff but no real warmth. Edward rarely dined at Mel's, only stopping by for its famous burgers during late-night meetings. When his assistant mentioned staffing issues at properties near the diner, overworked employees, complaints about delays, Edward was detached, his response cold: "Handle it." His mind was on a $150 million development deal, not a struggling waitress or the child who tagged along. He didn't know Lily existed, didn't know a child was starving just miles from his empire. But Lily's world was crumbling faster than anyone knew. Carla's exhaustion led to mistakes at work, dropped trays, mixed up orders, putting her job at risk. Her frustration spilled over onto Lily, who faced harsher treatment: skipped meals, sharp words, and moments of being left alone for hours in the apartment or the diner's booth. That warm September evening, after a heated fight with her boss over a scheduling mix-up, Carla's patience snapped. Lily, hungry and desperate, had quietly asked a customer for a bite of their food, her small voice trembling. "Please, sir, I'm just hungry." Carla, embarrassed and overwhelmed, accused Lily of causing trouble and dragged her toward the diner's glass door, ignoring her cries. Lily's plea echoed through the diner, her small body trembling as she was pulled into the warm Los Angeles evening, her brown eyes wide with fear. Edward, dining at Mel's after a late meeting, was finishing his cheeseburger when he heard Lily's voice: "Please, sir, I'm just hungry," and froze, his fork pausing midair. The words hit him like a thunderbolt, stirring a compassion he hadn't felt in years. He stood, his polished shoes clicking on the checkered floor, and followed them outside, calling out, "Wait, what's going on here?" His voice was sharp, a mix of instinct and concern, but his heart raced at the sight of Lily, trembling and hungry, clutching floppy as Carla pulled her away. Maria, working in the kitchen, saw the scene unfold through the pass-through window and rushed out, explaining what she knew about Carla's struggles and Lily's neglect: her hunger, her too small clothes, the nights spent alone. Edward's heart clenched. He didn't know this girl, but he couldn't walk away from her desperate plea. Edward acted swiftly. He called a social worker to ensure Lily's safety that night, arranging for her to be taken to a warm, safe foster home. He tracked down Carla, who broke down, admitting her overwhelm and guilt, her voice choked with tears. Edward, torn between anger and pity, offered to fund her counseling and housing to stabilize her life, but insisted Lily's safety come first, non-negotiable. That moment outside Mel's diner was a seismic shift. Lily's trembling plea, "Please, sir, I'm just hungry," shattered Edward's carefully built walls of detachment. Maria's explanation of Carla's struggles and Lily's neglect hit him like a tidal wave, awakening a compassion he hadn't felt since his wife's death. He arranged for a social worker to take Lily to a safe, warm foster home that night, ensuring she had a soft bed, a warm meal, and someone to comfort her. He funded counseling and housing for Carla, giving her a chance to rebuild her life, But his focus was on Lily's immediate safety, a priority he refused to compromise. Edward didn't stop there. He hired a lawyer to ensure Lily's protection, documenting Carla's struggles to build a case for her care. He visited Lily in foster care, bringing books about bunnies and magical gardens, a new sketch pad, and colored pencils, learning her love for stories and drawing. "You're safe now," he promised, kneeling to meet her big brown eyes, which flickered with wary hope. Lily, hesitant but sensing his sincerity, began to trust him, her small hand clutching Floppy as she nodded. Edward petitioned to become her legal guardian, determined to give her the stable, loving home she deserved. The court, seeing his commitment and resources, approved, and Lily moved into the Beverly Hills mansion, her small presence filling its silent halls with life, her laughter a new melody in a home once defined by solitude. Lily's story is more than a millionaire's rescue. It's a testament to the power of one moment to change a life. Edward didn't just save Lily. He found purpose in her resilience, a reason to open his heart after years of solitude. He became her guardian, transforming his Beverly Hills mansion into a home filled with warmth, bedtime stories about bunnies, and the sound of Lily's laughter echoing through its halls. Carla, now stable with counseling and a new apartment, visits regularly, rebuilding her bond with Lily under Edward's supportive watch. Edward, once a solitary figure, is now a father figure, reading tales of magical gardens, framing Lily's colorful sketches, and marveling at her courage and spirit. Today, Lily is a thriving 7-year-old, her tangled black hair bouncing as she plays in the mansion's gardens, her brown eyes bright with hope and joy. Edward founded a foundation for neglected children, inspired by Lily's strength, funding shelters, legal aid, and programs to break cycles of hardship. This story shows that compassion can rewrite futures, that one act of kindness can heal a child's wounds and transform a heart, reminding us all of the power we hold to change lives. If Lily and Edward's story touched your heart, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs a spark of hope. Subscribe and ring the bell for more stories that inspire and uplift. Drop a comment. Have you ever witnessed an act of compassion that changed a life? We'd love to hear your story. Let's spread kindness together. See you in the next video.